Hello dear students, in this video I am going to explain the poem Lapis Lazuli written by W.B. Yeats. In our previous video we have the theme and summary of this poem. Now here on your screen you can see the text of this poem. This poem is written by William Butler Yeats and it is written for Harry Clifton. And the text of this poem, the stanza 1 start with these opening lines like, I have heard that hysterical women say they are sick of the palette and fiddle bow, of poets that are always gay, for everybody knows or else should know that if nothing drastic is done, aeroplane and Zeppelin will come out, pitch like King Billy bomb balls in until the town lie beaten flat. Here we have discussed in the last video that lapis lazuli is a semi-precious stone of a light blue color and it was used in ornamental and mosaic works, but here the reference is of a medal. Yeats had received a lapis lazuli medal with a carving on it from a man called Harry Clifton. That's why this poem is dedicated to Harry Clifton, because the medal of the medal made of lapis lazuli gemstone was bestowed on Yeats by Harry Clifton. Here in the first stanza, there is a mention of hysterical women, and it is believed that hysterical women of the opening lines were women like Maud Gonne and Constance Markievicz. These were the women who had lost their beauty and their voices by their political fervor and active participation in political campaigning and propaganda. In our previous videos and the poem that we have discussed in the online classes, we have known about Maud Gonne, and in the last poem that we discussed, that we studied, was Bronze Head, and in that poem we came to know the aspect of Maud Gonne, the political aspect of Maud Gonne. The poet disapproves of women who reject the fine art in favor of political activity. So here the word hysterical women refers to Maud Gonne and Constance Markievicz. These women are called frightened or panicky women. And in the second line of this stanza, there is mention of palette and fiddle bow. Palette and fiddle bow here refer to painting and music. And in the further lines, Zeppelin means the German aeroplane which was used during World War I to raid England. And King Billy of Orange was responsible for using bombs at the Battle of Boyne in 1690. The bomb balls used by King Billy of Orange found a modern counterpart in another King Billy, namely Kaiser Wilhelm II, whose Zeppelin aeroplane had been raiding England during the First World War. So here the poet in these line number 1 to line number 8, that is also called stanza 1, here in the poet referred to certain women who are fed up with such fine art as painting and music and poetry. Why are they fed up? Because these arts are gay, these arts are happy, in happy mood. These women find no interest in these arts. Because why? Because they are afraid of the possibility of the outbreak of another world war. That's why the poet is saying that I have heard that hysterical women say they are sick of palette and fiddle bow. The hysterical women are fed up of painting, music and poetry, because these arts are in a happy mood. Rather, the women thinks about to s- stop the possibility of outbreak of another world war, because if another world war breaks out, aeroplanes will bomb the cities of Britain and cause immense destruction. These women therefore want that something drastic, something very effective should be done to prevent such a possibility. And here in the last three lines of this stanza, there is a mention of World War First and Battle of Boyne in 1690. In that battle, King Billy of Orange firstly used bomb balls to raid England. And the next stanza start with the lines, all perform their tragic play. There struts Hamlet, there is Lear, that's Ophelia, that Cordelia. Yet they should the last scene be there, the great stage curtain about to drop. If worthy their prominent part in the play, do not break up their lines to weep. In the second stanza, the poet mentioned about some of the well known characters of English literature characterized by William Shakespeare, and here he says that all perform their tragic play. Here he is mentioning the characters who perform on stage, the actors who perform on the stage, the actor who are playing the role of Hamlet, Lear, Ophelia and Cordelia. And he is saying that they struts means walk proudly. Those characters, Hamlet, Lear, Ophelia and Cordelia, are important characters in Shakespeare's tragic play. Hamlet and Ophelia are characters in the play called Hamlet. So Hamlet and Ophelia are the characters in Hamlet, and Lear and Cordelia are the characters in play called King Lear. And he says that when the actors play the role of Hamlet, Lear, Ophelia and Cordelia, they walk on the stage so proudly, yet they should the last scene be there. Till the last scene, they play their characters very well. The great stage curtain about to draw. At the end of the stage curtain to drop, they play their role very prominently. If worthy their prominent part in the play, do not break up their lines to weep. This means that the tragic actors do not interrupt their roles on the stage in order to shed tears at the misfortunes. This is the best quality of these actors, these characters, that they do not interrupt their role on the stage in order to shed tears at their misfortune which they are supposed to be undergoing. They know that Hamlet and Lear are gay, gaiety transfiguring all that dread. All men have aimed at, found and lost, blackout. Here he says that although the actors who are playing the role of Hamlet and Lear, although the actors know that they have to play the character of Hamlet and Lear are gay, gaiety transfiguring all that, they are happy in spite of the suffering that they have to undergo. The gaiety of a tragic hero arises from a sense of his own heroism in resisting and combating, means and fighting with the misfortune, even though ultimately he collapses beneath it. Means although the actors who are playing the role of Hamlet and Lear, although they know about their coming misfortune, but they don't give up, they don't uh, they don't collapse to combat the misfortunes. Heaven blazing into the head, tragedy wrought to its uttermost, means the tragic hero loses everything that he has. There is thus a blackout in his life, but it does not matter. The mind of the tragic hero, heaven blazing into the head, it means the mind of the tragic hero is illumined by a heavenly light. He rises above his misfortune and thus attains not only greatness but also gaiety, means happiness. Though Hamlet rambles and Lear rages, these are the main uh, point of view of these characters, that Hamlet always rambles about the incoherent talk, and Lear rages. You should notice the scene when King Lear when King Lear in the play King Lear, the stormy scene when the King Lear rages. So here is a mention of those two epic scenes. One of the epic scene from Hamlet when the character Hamlet rambles about the incoherent talk, and the second epic scene of King Lear, that is the storm scene. So here is the mention of those two epic scenes, and the poet is saying that though Hamlet rambles and Lear rages, and all the drop scenes drop at once upon 100,000 stages, it cannot grow by an inch or an ounce. Here he is saying that there is a reference to the incoherent talk of Hamlet and the stormy outburst of Lear. Hamlet is believed to have gone mad because he is rambling. Lear was beside himself with rage, with anger at the treatment he had received from those two daughters to whom he had shown favor. But the poet in the last two lines saying that all the drop scenes drop at once upon 100,000 stages, it cannot grow by an inch or an ounce. It means that the tragedy has been wrought, the tragedy has been carved to its uttermost in those scenes, and no matter on how many stages these plays are performed, the intensity of the tragedy cannot be further heightened. So here the poet wants to convey a message that although the intensity of those tragic scenes are at height, but they do not grumble, but they do not lose hope. The tragic heroes like Hamlet and Lear meet tragedy and death. Tragedy is wrought to its uttermost in their gaiety, as they find and lose all that men have aimed at. In other words, the tragic heroes are happy in spite of what they suffer. And by this stanza, W.B. Yeats wants to convey a very positive, a very optimistic message to the civilization, that although we are in the havoc of World War First, but we should feel happy till the combat win by us. So that's all about today in this video. In the forthcoming video we will study the next stanzas, and at the end of the explanation of this text I will tell you the critical comment and analysis of this poem. So thank you all.